The way you see yourself becomes the way the world treats you. This idea has been proven again and again throughout history. People who saw themselves as capable became capable. People who saw themselves as worthy became worthy. But here's the question. If this is true, why do so many people stay stuck for years, even when they have the same opportunities as everyone else? Today's story will answer that question. And along the way, we will also learn some useful English words. So stay with me until the end. I promise this story will be worth your time. In a busy city, there was a small tea stall near a large office building.
Thank you,
The
Daniel.
man who ran this tea stall was named Daniel. Daniel had been making tea at this same spot for 15 years.
Careful.
Every
Fine.
morning,
Have a
hundreds
great
of
morning.
employees walked
Thanks,
past
you
his
too.
stall on their way into the tall glass office building. Some stopped for tea. Most walked straight past without even looking at him. Daniel had grown used to this. In his mind, he had a fixed idea about himself. I am just a tea seller. These are educated people, office people. I do not belong in their world. I make tea, that is all I am. This thought had lived inside him for 15 years. And because Daniel believed it so completely, he behaved exactly like it. He never looked employees in the eye. He never spoke unless spoken to. When customers gave him money, he took it with his head slightly down. He was invisible, not because people ignored him, but because he had made himself invisible first. One rainy morning, a young employee named Sarah came running to the tea stall to escape the rain. She was new at the company, only a few weeks in. While waiting for the rain to slow down, she ordered a tea. Daniel handed it to her without looking up, the same way he always did. But Sarah looked at him and said, "This is really good tea. How long have you been doing this?" Daniel was surprised. No one had asked him a personal question in years. He mumbled, 15 years, madam." Sarah smiled. 15 years? That's amazing. You must know exactly how every single person here likes their tea by now." Daniel looked up properly for the first time. Yes, I do, actually." Sarah continued, almost thinking out loud. "You know, my manager always says the most important skill in business is understanding what people want before they ask for it. You've been doing that every single day for 15 years without even realizing it." Daniel said nothing, but something inside him felt strange, unfamiliar. Sarah finished her tea, thanked him, and walked into the building. But her words stayed with Daniel. He kept thinking about them all day, understanding what people want before they ask. He had never thought of his work that way. To him, it was just making tea. But was it really just that? That evening, Daniel sat at his stall after closing, thinking. He thought about Mr. Sharma, who always wanted his tea slightly less sweet on Mondays, because of his diet that started every week and failed by Tuesday. He thought about Priya, who needed extra ginger when she had a cold, which Daniel could tell just by looking at her face. He thought about the security guard who liked his tea extremely hot because his shift started in the cold morning air. Daniel knew all of this, without anyone telling him, without writing anything down. He had never seen this as a skill. He had only seen himself as just a tea seller. But what if that wasn't the full picture? The next morning, something small changed. When Mr. Sharma walked up, Daniel said, "Less sugar today, sir. Monday diet, right?" Mr. Sharma laughed loudly. "You remember that, huh? Yes, please, though I'll probably break it by tomorrow." For the first time in 15 years, Daniel smiled while serving tea. The next day, when Priya walked up looking tired, Daniel said, "Extra ginger today? You look like you need it." Priya looked surprised, then smiled warmly. "You're right, thank you for noticing." Small moments, tiny conversations. But something was shifting. Daniel began to notice something. When he stood up straighter, people responded differently. When he made eye contact, people smiled back. When he spoke a little more, people remembered him. It wasn't that people had changed. It was that Daniel had stopped hiding. For 15 years, he had been invisible because he had decided he was invisible. Now he was simply present, and the world responded to his presence. Word started to spread inside the office building. "Have you tried the tea guy downstairs? He somehow knows exactly how everyone likes their tea. He's incredible. It's like he studies people." One afternoon, the building's facilities manager came down personally. "Daniel, right? We're renovating the ground floor lobby. We want to include a proper tea counter inside the building. Would you be interested in running it?" Daniel stood there, stunned. 15 years at the same spot outside, and now an offer to move inside with better pay, with recognition. with a real space of his own. "Why me?" Daniel asked quietly. The manager smiled. "Because everyone trusts you. You know this place better than anyone, you just never had the platform to show it." Daniel accepted. 6 months later, his small counter inside the lobby had become one of the most popular spots in the building. Employees didn't just come for tea anymore. They came because Daniel remembered their names, their preferences, their small daily struggles. He had always had this ability. For 15 years, it had been sitting quietly inside him. The only thing that changed was how Daniel saw himself. One morning, Sarah walked in for her tea, now a familiar face among many. "Daniel, can I ask you something? What changed? You seem like a completely different person from when I first met you." Daniel thought for a moment. Then he said, "You said something to me once about understanding people. I had been doing that for years without knowing it meant anything. I thought I was just a tea seller, but I was actually paying attention, caring, remembering. I just never saw those things as valuable. Once I did, I stopped hiding them." Sarah smiled. "You didn't change, Daniel. You just stopped underestimating yourself." Friends, this story isn't really about tea. It's about the invisible story we tell ourselves about who we are. Daniel had a valuable skill for 15 years: attention, memory, care, understanding people deeply. But because he labeled himself as just a tea seller, he never let that skill be seen. Not by others, not even by himself. The world didn't change for Daniel. Daniel changed the way he saw himself first. And only then did the world begin to see him differently too. This is true for all of us. Maybe you have a skill you've never valued. Maybe you've labeled yourself as just something. Just a student, just an employee, just average. But what if that label isn't true? What if it's just a story you've been telling yourself for so long that you forgot it was a choice? You don't need a new job to change your life. Sometimes you just need to see what was already there. All along, see yourself differently and watch how the world responds. If this story gave you something today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories that help you improve your mindset, your English, and your life. Thank you for watching. See yourself clearly, see yourself fully, and let the world catch up.